I must now tell you that we did not foresee that the Declaration of Independence and the 4th of July would become as important as they eventually became. July 2nd was the day that we had actually voted for the resolution for independence, not July 4th. July 4th was the announcement, the declaration. A resolution is neither a law nor a constitution. A resolution is merely something that represents an instance in which Congress makes up its mind. That happens so very infrequently that we give it a formal title. I agreed with John Adams when he said that July 2nd would be the day that everyone would remember. Even if we didn't necessarily know which specific document or day would become famous, we were all aware of the risk we were taking. Years later, my friend Dr. Benjamin Rush wrote about the signing ceremony which took place on August 2nd in the following way. He said, "Do you recollect the pensive and awful silence which pervaded the House when we were called up one after the other to the table of the President of Congress to subscribe what was believed by many at that time to be our own death warrant?" Virginia delegate Benjamin Harrison, who often made jests to the delight of the other delegates, was the only man to dare interrupting the silence and gloom of that morning. Mr. Harrison was a robust man of formidable stature and girth. He called out to Elbridge Gerry, who was a man of slight stature and almost negligible weight, as Mr. Gerry was about to sign the declaration, and he said, "I shall have a great advantage over you, Mr. Gerry, when we are all hung for what we are doing. From the size and weight of my body, I shall die in a few minutes and be with the angels, but from the lightness of your body, you will dance in the air an hour or two before you are dead." It was meant as a jest at the time. I have trouble recalling any laughter on that August 2nd when we signed the Declaration of Independence, but there may have been a little uncomfortable laughter at that moment. By that time, the document had already begun to build a kind of momentum of meaning and impact based on the responses it was generating when read aloud to crowds across the United States. On July 8th, when it was read aloud for the first time in Philadelphia, at noon by Colonel John Nixon in front of the Pennsylvania State House, you now call it Independence Hall, the citizens of the town responded after the reading with loud huzzas, after which a group of militia marched into the State House, removed the king's coat of arms from the wall, dragged it through the streets, and then burned it in a bonfire. After the Declaration of Independence was proclaimed, read aloud, to a crowd in New York City, a group of citizens there marched to a statue of King George III and pulled the statue down, horse and all. They tore the statue to pieces. It was a lead statue, and parts of it were melted down to make bullets to be used by patriots in the fight against the soldiers of King George III. By the next year, 1777, people were already commemorating the 4th of July, not only in America, but in France as well. Benjamin Franklin, who was representing the United States in France, held a festive dinner at his home in Passy to commemorate the day. The document grew in importance still, not only in the United States and elsewhere in the world. Revolutions in France and Poland drew inspiration from the words in that document in the 1780s. And as the 19th century dawned, revolutions in South America drew inspiration from the Declaration of Independence as well. Those revolutions were flawed, as was ours. If I may speak a little bit beyond the Declaration of Independence for just a moment, there are those who would say that the Constitution is a mess, so it needs amendments. Those same individuals might further protest that it is full of contradictions. So is independence. We have to start somewhere. July 4th, 1776, all men are created equal. This is where we started. This is the notion of why we celebrate this nation today. On July 4th, 1776, though there was not an original idea in the Declaration of Independence, I made sure of that. I'm a lawyer. We do that. We did something original. By voting to approve those 5 words, all men are created equal, as the basis for our revolution, for the first time in the history of the world, a people established a new land with a goal in mind at its very inception. Our goal is hidden between the lines of those 5 words. All men are created equal. If you're an American, you share that goal. No matter where you live, no matter where you were born, if you share that goal, an important part of you is American. Our goal is this. One day, in America, all men, meaning all mankind, ladies, you too, will be treated as they are created, as equals. But I wonder how long it will take for us to achieve that goal. A century? 2 centuries? Will we have achieved that goal by the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in the year 2026? As future generations contemplate the efforts of my generation, I hope they do not fall into one of 2 traps. The first would be to reject what we did accomplish because we did not accomplish everything, to throw out the proverbial baby with the bathwater. The second, equally dangerous of the traps, would be to reject acknowledgement of our failures because of respect for our successes. After all, sometimes the baby does need a bath. Because that would be to reject their right to improve on what we started and their responsibility to move us closer, generation by generation, to the goal that defines us as a people, and we are defined by a goal. We are not defined by the blood that runs in our veins. We are not defined by the soil upon which we were born. One of the 3 greatest men who ever lived, Isaac Newton, once said that if he had seen further than those who had come before him, it was because he was standing on the shoulders of giants. If I could say one thing to future generations of Americans as they contemplate the great anniversary festival of July 4th, and what we accomplished in my generation, I might exhort them thus. If you look up to our successes, do not feel too low. If you look down on our failures, do not feel yourselves too lofty either. You can see further than we could see. You can reach higher than we could reach. Of course you can. We are holding you up on our shoulders.